Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from executeautomation.com and welcome to part 10 of our Understanding Docker for Windows video series. And in this video, we'll be talking about namespace isolation. And before watching this part, I would request you to watch part 9 since this part is going to be a complete continuation of that part. Alright, so let's get started. Namespace isolation. A namespace isolation technique is available in Linux from 2008 since version 2.6 is released, and anyone familiar with the ch root already has a basic idea of what Linux namespaces can do and how it uses namespace generally. So namespace isolation is not an all-new technology, but it is available since 2008 in Linux, but for the Windows world it is all new. So it is currently introduced in Windows Server 2016. But before that, the isolation was not there. But this is available in Linux for pretty much like 2008, and that's why if you remember in our previous video series, the Understanding ABC of Docker video series, we touched a concept called LXC. So using LXC is where the isolation or the containerization of the whole process came into picture, and that's exactly has made the containers concept in real as well. So namespace isolation enables the host to give each containers a virtualized namespace that includes only the resources that it should see. With this restricted view, a container can't access files not included in the virtualized namespace regardless of their permissions because it simply can't see them. Nor can it list or interact with applications that are not part of the containers. So if you remember from our previous video, we were doing a file system isolation. We were trying to access the shared folder from the host machine, but we could not directly, right? It was looking like a shortcut for the particular folder, but it was not a shortcut. It was actually shared. So even if we try to access that by double clicking it, we can't. And the reason is because it is actually restricted for the containers to access the file which is not included in the virtualized namespace. Even though we shared it, we cannot just directly double click and open that particular folder from the particular containers directory, right? But it can list it if we share that particular folder. So if we don't share the particular folder, we can only see the folders and files of that particular container. We cannot see the files and folders which is not in that particular containers list. So once again, if you ask me why namespace isolation, then we will see a simple analogy. In a single user computer, a single system environment may be fine. But on a server where you want to run multiple services, it is essential to security and stability that services are as isolated from each other as possible. Imagine a server running a multiple services, one of which get compromised by an intruder. In such a case, the intruder may able to exploit that service and work his way to the other services and may even be able to compromise the entire server. So namespace isolation can provide a secure environment to eliminate this risk. And that's why we are actually going for this namespace isolation itself. But this is just one of the analogy. It doesn't mean that only for the security risk we're going for the isolation, but it is beyond that particular security risk. This is just one analogy of the namespace isolation. And we saw how the isolations are really making sense while it comes to the file system isolation. Hence, Docker is a namespacing tool, right? Because namespacing is being done as an intrinsic part of Docker. And Docker on Windows provide isolations for processes, network, storage, environment variables, registries, and users and groups. So it provides isolation for each and every of these options of the operating systems. And that's what we saw in our part 9 on the file system isolation. And Docker does all the heavy lifting operations for us and make isolation happen in just a couple of commands. So let's quickly see this in action in our next video. But once again, guys, this isolation is something a great technique and it's a vast concept. So I would recommend you to just Google and search for the isolation concepts and what are the different kinds of isolation concepts available and what is the real intrinsic details available between the isolation on processes, storage, network, and all those concepts, because we are going to discuss those isolations in our upcoming videos of this course. So once again, guys, thank you very much for watching this video and have a great day.